Hello, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to day 23 of the Woman Called You Do Over January, where we've been exploring, 31 days to declutter and deconstruct the mind to gain clarity. So today we are talking about how do I gain mental clarity? And I'm so happy that I can do video now. The last couple of days, I took my booster, the Pfizer one, and I had a bad reaction to it, but much better now. Thank you for all your, kind wishes and messages. I'm actually doing quite well now. So as I would always do every day, just a quick recap of what the Woman Called You is all about. We're just simply a platform of women committed to inspiring change through personal growth. Like I always say, you can't give what you don't have. So it's one post at a time, one word at a time, one series at a time, interaction at a time. We just hopefully will get there one day. So today is part 3 of how do I gain mental clarity. The past two, day 21, day 22, we've been handling that. So before I go into part 3 of the things we can do to gain mental clarity, just a quick recap, of what mental clarity is. Simply the state of being mentally alert. When you're in touch with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, you're clear-headed, you're focused, you're present, you practice mindfulness, you're present, you're able to have a clear perspective of things. That's basically what mental clarity is. It also means you are not just an observer, you also are in touch with everything that concerns you. You are consumed. You're not consumed by things. You're just in touch. You really have a keen grasp of what is happening around you. And like I said a couple of days ago, I said, say, maintaining mental clarity is a difficult task. It's not something you are born with. It's something you build. There's no magic to it. It's something you build because whether we like it or not, every day in our lives, in our activities, we are constantly bombarded by 1,001 informations, and in our day-to-day living, if we're not able to not only compartmentalize, if we're not able to streamline everything, if we're not able to make things align, consequently, our mental state is threatened. And that's when you begin to see somebody lacks clarity, or somebody has a low level of mental clarity, and things like that. And one of the things I've been saying the last couple of weeks is the fact that now, in the age we live in, we have not only do we constantly have all kinds of external things hitting us from every angle, even the things that we need to deal with from within. In those days, people had less distractions. Now, our distractions are not only physical, they're not only, let me say, in terms of humans, we have technological distractions. We have, yes, they had emotional distractions back then, but we have so many distractions. When you not talk about things like gender. The other day, somebody was saying to me, and my kid was there, and he finished saying it. I'm talking about my 13-year-old, and my 13-year-old now said to me, "Mommy, what's this thing they say about gender fluidity?" It was like, "Why are you asking?" And I was surprised the amount of information that 13-year-old had already. So there's so many things that we are, like the Bible says, we are being buffeted on all sides. So it takes only somebody who has the will and who says, I will not, lose myself. I would always gather my wits about me. It takes somebody who is strong. And I'm not talking about strength in terms of toughness, somebody who is emotionally strong, mentally strong to go through the kind of life we have before us these days. And out of the just off the bat like that, I would like to say something. I think I missed saying it the first day I was talking about things that would help us gain mental clarity. That's knowing what your core motivation is. Because you see, before we can talk about any other thing, you must understand what motivates you. You know, some people, their core motivator is saying something like the fear of not being worthy enough. You know, I said that over and over again when I was talking about self care. And when somebody has a core motivator, which is a fear of not being worthy enough, you will see that the kind of things that such a person, you know, has to do in his or her life, that fear of not being worthy enough will keep on coming up. The kind of things that will give such a person insight at the back of his head. He's thinking, maybe I'm not worthy enough. And such a person will be prone to bad mental or emotional balance. You know why? If your core motivator is a fear of not being worthy enough, you'll be that person who overreaches, who multitasks, who constantly seeks validation. And you know, these are the kind of things that are stressors. These are the kind of things that affect mental clarity. So your core motivator in life, you know, can actually have impacts on the state of your mental health. So one of the things you need to start reevaluating, what is my core motivator? What motivates me? Some of us will be motivated by things that have actually been counterproductive to our mental health. So, you know, it is important that as part of the things we would need to deal with or handle beyond these 31 days is to begin to assess what our personal core motivators are. And if you do, you'll begin to understand that there are certain things that you do or say that everything that is your core motivation has been responsible for the way you have been acting, the way you've been going through life, the way you've been stressed or not stressed. And after you're able to identify what your core motivators are, at least thankfully I spoke about core values the other day, you begin to dig into those values. Because whether we like it or not, our values dictate so much of what we believe. And at the end of the day, I mean, ultimately, our behaviors are dictated by our values. So you begin to check, assess what are the core values I live by. Am I easily offended? If that's your core value, and you are in an environment where people will always offend you, your mental health would need a lot of work. You know, what are your passions? But the good thing is, if you're able to truly identify your core values, you'll be able to navigate human relationships better. It's true. If you have a core value of not wanting to be offended, you would do your best to avoid toxic environments. Even where you cannot avoid toxic environments, you will learn how to filter toxic people. And that's the truth. So when you have a good grasp of what your core values are, your values, you know what begins to happen? You begin to understand that, ah, hey, this thing is not as bad as I thought now. How am I going to go about this thing now? And I tell you, a good place to start, I've been saying it for the last couple of days or weeks. Take that pen, take that paper, begin to jot down, what are my core values? What are my core values? What do I advocate for? My core values, is it honesty? Is it trust? Is it freedom? When you begin to think of those things, you begin to, you know, schedule the kind of things that will make you at least keep your sanity. I mean, you hear that when people say things like, I do this thing for my sanity. You begin to do it. You begin to do it. Is it integrity? You even, the people you find yourself associating with, you begin to filter. You begin to save. Remember what I said in day 22. You are now intentional in seeking mental clarity. And mental clarity is somehow tantamount to peace of mind because everything is in focus. And one thing I would like to put out here is that, see, if you have mental clarity, you are not lacking in mental clarity. One thing that it will do, and I know I mentioned this when I was saying why mental clarity is important, is the fact that it will enable you, go through life with ease. So many of us are constantly in a battle because we're not clear about the direction we're headed. We're not clear about the things we want out of life. We go into relationships, we do not let whoever we're involved in know what is our breaking point, know what is a deal breaker for us. We do not. We just, waltz through life without outlining what is and what isn't for us. And that leads me to the next point. If you want mental clarity, you must do what they say, always challenge your never. Remember what I said the other day, that if you are not ready, if you are that person that's always saying, I don't think I can do this, then you're not ready for mental clarity. And that's the truth. If you keep on saying, I'm not ready to do this and all that, you're not ready for mental clarity. And when you say always challenge your never, I always ask people this question. What if you're never? The things you say, I will never, I can't do, I can never are actually the things that your life needs most. But because we don't want to push the envelope, we don't want to push the envelope. We don't want to, I'm not saying to be overtly adventurous. No, that's not what I'm proposing here. But you see, because you don't want to push the envelope, you don't want to try, you will remain in a state of, I can never do that. Well, for somebody like me, like I was telling the young men around me 2 days ago, I said, you said that Lekki canopy walk. I can never do it though. I can never do it. There are some nevers you don't even bother challenging. And that's because I have a fear of heights. But where you're never is because people have made you believe that you're not able to do it. Have you seen where you see somebody do something and say, I never could have thought I'll be able to do that? That's because you decided to step out of your comfort zone. So when I say always challenge your never, it means you are ready to step out comfort zone. Because that very thing that you have been saying never for is actually what you need. I mean, let me just digress a bit. You know how people back then will say, I used to be one of those people that say, I can never marry an Igbo man. I can never marry an Igbo man. My choice to ultimately date an Igbo man that eventually lead to marriage can be seen as me challenging my never. Challenging my never. There's some people that will say, I can never live without this thing. Oh, I can never live without this thing. Supposing you're in a situation where that thing is not there, won't you still exist? Won't you still exist? So today I'm saying one of the ways we can embrace mental clarity, I want a woman to begin to challenge your never. So many people, if you have to check what they call never file, their never file is full. Their never file is full. But if you make up your mind today to go and revisit that your never file and begin to challenge those things they said you couldn't do, begin to challenge those things. That's the start for mental clarity. That's the beginning. People are now doing businesses that people thought they would never succeed at. Your decision to go into that business, I'm giving you the term for what that thing is. You chose to challenge your never. You understand? You begin to see things, you expose yourself to new experiences. You are challenging your never. And that leads me to the next thing, which this one I find very, very humorous because I will not speak French. Like rather, I'll say I broke it down to make it easier without, almost seeming to say profanity, you know. But in human studies, there's how they put it, but I won't put it that way. I'll just simply say, put your body where your heart wants to be. So just imagine what could have been in the place of the body. Say, put your body where your heart wants to be. Don't always be planning. If only I could go to the pool today, I would have swam. I for like swim today. Sister, carry your body to the swimming pool. Because you know one thing we always suffer. You would wish. Before you know it, you're procrastinating. Before you know it, you didn't do that thing. You now start getting stressed for not doing that thing. Oh, I wish, this choir, I wish I could go and join the choir. Go there and join. Sometimes you just need to get something out of your system to have this, to experience that Zen mental, that state of feeling satiated, if I dare say that. You want to do something, just keep quiet, go and do it. Remember the Nike slogan? Just do it. So many of us, we lack mental clarity because everything is in the realms of is in the realms of intention. And when things continue to be in the realms of intention, you can't have mental clarity. You can't have mental clarity. I mean, you want to draw, go and stand in front of something and draw. You want to write a piece on social media that's been, doing cartwheels in your head. Go pick up your phone, your iPad, anything, begin to type. You want to start a blog? Sit in front of your screen. Open one of those blog um apps and start blogging. Once you allow your body to be where your heart is, you will notice that you will gradually begin to all it takes is one step. The Chinese say a journey of 1,000 miles or whatever starts with a step. That's one thing that gives you mental clarity. Go ahead, just do it. Because the more you continue thinking, intending to, the more strain you will have. Have you seen where they say at the end, what most people fear at the end? And when I'm saying at the end, I mean, you're on your way out of this life. It's not the fear that they are going, but regrets. And regrets take a toll on your mental health. So you see, if you learn to put your body where your heart is, your regret quotient will be low. Your regret quotient will be low. But when you keep intending, there's this thing that I used to hear them say back then, say, want to no get no want. Stop wanting and go out and get it. So at least even if you do them, like them, say I don't do them, and your mind go come out for there. Another way we can gain mental clarity, and perhaps it's one of the most important things we can do to ourselves. Know your purpose. You know how they say, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And that's the reality. If you know your purpose, I mean, you live life being clear, crystal clear. I'm just why of what you're doing. I tell you, it will provide you with the right playing field for your mental space. Because whatever you're doing, it will be within that framework. It will be within that framework of what you have laid out. So even if you hit a bump, so to speak, you know because you've laid out everything. Remember when I was talking about your passion statements, your pros, your cons that constitute your passion statement? You will have done all of that. You will have made your choices. Remember what I said the other time? You will have, committed yourself to getting and gleaning all the information you need. It will be a full package whereby it will aid clarity. Your emotions, your intentions, everything will work in tandem. And that's the whole idea of pursuing mental clarity, whereby everything is working in tandem. Because you know where you're going to. It's just like these days, you enter your car, you put Google Map. See, Google Map can never be as good as somebody who is already familiar with the terrain. And I've seen it happen a couple of times, and I'm like, because when you know your purpose, you know where you're going to, and you've laid out everything. If you meet certain bumps on the road, like how Google Map will take you to another place, I probably did not know that the road is being constructed or reconstructed or being repaired. But if I truly need to get somewhere, like I wanted to go somewhere the other day, I had to call somebody that knew the place very well. I was like, use Google Map to Isolo. I said, explain it to me. Explain it to me. By the time he did that and all of that, yes, I still use Google Map, but I knew not to go into Iyanaworo. I knew that if I just hit straight, I'll be heading towards Ibadan. Yes, I mean, come down at Maryland, but the road will be longer. And as sure as rain, that was the road Google Map was showing me. But guess what? I had peace because when I got to the end of the Third Milan Bridge, I called the person again. I said, look ahead of you. You see a road going right as if it's a bridge. Take it. That's what knowing your purpose is all about. And it gives you peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind. I knew with that his description, I was going to drive through Oshodi. Of course, everybody knows how Oshodi can be. Yes, it's been fixed and all that, but you know that if you're not careful, if there's traffic and all of that, and a woman driving alone, I now knew to put everything under the chair. That's mental clarity. Mental clarity does not preclude, negativity happening at any point. But what it does for you is that you're focused, you are clear, you are not torn between two opinions. You know where you're headed. So that's what it does to you. And that means when you know your purpose, it becomes a very powerful tool for clarity. I'm telling you. But so many people are not too sure of what their purpose is. And tomorrow, I'll be talking to us on how to discover purpose for peace of mind. Because with the bandwagon generation that we are largely now, I'm not talking so much of our generation, but I'm talking about the generation Y and the millennials. It is whatever is in trend, whatever is happening. But the question is, those things that you do because it's happening or is in trend, does it afford you mental clarity? Does it give you peace of mind? One thing I quickly would like to share with us before I sign off for the night. Let me just bring my iPad and show you guys something. But that's another important aspect of discovering mental clarity. And it falls under exercising your brain. Exercising your brain. See, most people, those games we see on this and everything, most people think they're not so important. But you see, you must exercise your mind to stimulate your brain. You must exercise your mind to stimulate your brain. Because so many of us, when I started this game, I think it was my husband, he's always playing. He's either doing Scrabble, thing or the other. I used to love to do solitaire. Then till I discovered games like this, I don't know if you can see it Wordscape. There's so many games like this. If you're using Android, this is on iOS because it's an iPad. There's so many games that you can do to strengthen your brain. Crossword puzzles, math quizzes, but math quizzes not for me. you know, number related games, all those kind of things. What they do, they somebody said it's not as someone is it's medically proven, that they help you maintain important neuronal connections. I'm telling you, and that they are very critical to your cognitive ability. And I realized that since I threw myself into this thing, I hardly experience forgetfulness, and it's true. Because now I think I'm on level 500 and something. That if you see it will say super hard. And I deliberately see how I do it. I deliberately put it on airplane mode, so I'm not able to see any tips or anything. If you can see my airplane mode, I deliberately put it on airplane mode. So, because if you put it on, if you're on the internet, you're able to click to get tips and all that. No, initially it was so tedious for me, but I began to see the gains. My mind has some words. Yeah, I love words. I'm a word person, so words keeps really fitted like my personality and all of that. So you need to look for something like that. It will help strengthen your mind game. You know. And one other thing, I just need to let us know. There's so many ways you can also improve your mental clarity. They tell you sleep. I didn't want to talk about all those mundane ones because there are things everyone should know. But I just quickly say they say sleep well, eat well, rest and all of that. Balanced diet, meals, or the kind of food that will strengthen your brain capacity. Yes. But one other thing I also would want to say to us, because I don't want to go back to um should I say how to gain mental clarity tomorrow. I don't want it to be a part 4, but time is fast spent, so maybe I'll just talk more about it. There are 2 things I would like to talk about tomorrow, and that's how you can assess your mental focus in advance of any activity. And how do you do this? No, I think I can just do it now. I can just stretch the time to assess your mental focus in advance of any activity. I want to just encourage somebody, see, before you start any activity whatsoever or assign yourself to do anything, you must first know how much time you want to spend on that thing before starting it. So many of us do things that, okay, you thought you'll be there for 20 minutes and you spend like almost 2 hours, and at the end of the 2 hours, you are stressed. So you must assess it mentally. If this thing goes on for 2 hours, can I manage it? Can I manage 2 hours now? Do you know that 2 hours you might spend in the morning, you consider it a waste of time. But if you spend that same 2 hours in the evening doing that thing, you feel better. Please, I'm encouraging us, allot time slots to what you do. I'm speaking from experience. Allot time slots. Or if you want to do something, start earlier. Because if you feel, okay, I want to do this thing before I go out at 3, by 2:30, you're not done with that thing. You now start getting worked up. You don't know whether to stop that one. You don't know. That's why I say, trust me, why so many people get to appointments or events late. It's not as if they intentionally wanted to, but if you check it, it's their activities that were not well planned out. It's part of your mental work. It's part of mental clarity. Because of what use is it that you finish doing something and you are angry that you did it? And that's the truth. And that's the truth. And that's why when they talk about, some of these things may sound new age, but it's entrenched in common sense. They tell you I don't know, stuff known as the flow state. And what is your flow state? You know, it happens to me a lot. Like when I'm doing fascinators or I'm candling, and you forget time, how time is flowing. You're so absorbed in what you are doing, that you are losing track of time. If you're not careful, it can affect your mental clarity. Because sometimes it's not good to be so immersed in doing something that you lose track of time around you. That is why, if sometimes you spend so much time on doing something, economists will call it my sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I think I just temporarily lost I temporarily lost connection there. So like I was saying, you must know your flow state. You must know your flow state. So many people don't know their flow state. And that is why when you spend so much time, you know, when you lose track of time and at a point you just get fed up or whatever, it's because you didn't gauge yourself. Sometimes they tell you, it depends on what you're doing. Do it in pockets of 30 minutes or this 1 hour. Stand up, move around. All those things help. You think when they'll tell you when you sit down on a chair for some time, it's not so much about your what's happening to your body. It's more about what is happening up here. Tell you move around, calm down, sit. Why do you think the Westerners they're so high on coffee break, tea break, all those kind of things? It's to aid your flow state. So when your flow state is just operating at optimum capacity, it also helps your mental clarity. So guys, I've overshot the time. Sorry about that because we're how do I put it? It's the last leg, so to speak, because we just have a couple of days to go. And I hope, as I've always said in the past couple of days, that you understand that this thing is not a quick fix, it's not magical, just one day at a time. There's been so much information, you know, coming at you the last couple of weeks. But I tell you, no one person needs all the information. I'm just putting it all out there so you can take what's important to you and what would make any kind of impact in your life. I just encourage you, read more, just get into this habit of wanting to feed your mind with things that are healthy and will ultimately, make a difference. That's positive difference difference, because difference can either be negative or positive to your total mental health and state. So for me, till tomorrow, day 24, good night and God bless.